Hey Christina, I really liked your video talking about friendship and accepting people for who they are. So sorry for missing last week's video. Things have been crazy. I'm currently in Austin doing my internship at a BROM, which is a self-directed education community. So at the self-directed education community, I'm a volunteer facilitator, which is compared to normal schools is kind of like a teacher, and in what would be students, learners. So this is the end of my second week at a BROM, and I wanted to make a video about something I learned. It's called the stop rule. One of the very few rules at a BROM is the stop rule. A BROM is a consent-based community, and when someone says stop, it means you stop. It doesn't matter what you're doing or what you think is right. It could be from any learner or facilitator. Stop means stop. If you're doing something encroaching on someone's boundaries, that means you stop. I'd like to make clear that stop doesn't mean you have to stop forever or you can't start again. It just means in that moment, someone's safety or someone's boundaries are being encroached upon and that you should stop. And then if you still have questions about it or you have concerns about whether that stop was necessary or warranted, a conversation could be had. Often when someone says stop and you keep going, it's for a few reasons. It's because you think that the other person doesn't understand what you're doing, or they think you're doing something worse than you actually are. So you just keep doing it and then you can explain it to it later that, oh, this is actually what I'm doing. Think of it like a prank video. You may think the other person has no jurisdiction or control of what you're doing. You're like, some random guy on the street person tells you to stop. You're like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. He can't say anything to me. 3, maybe you just don't understand why that person is even telling you to stop. And if you don't understand why someone's telling you to stop, then why stop? Tell them to explain it and maybe I'll stop while I'm doing it. But while I'm doing it, I'm just going to keep doing what I want. Either way, in all these cases, if someone says to you stop and you don't, there's the potential that your unintended consequences can harm someone else. I think before this week, when I heard the word stop, or when I crossed someone's boundaries and they told me to stop, that if I didn't listen to them or I did something opposing to them, that it just wasn't right. Even when I didn't understand why they said stop, just stopping when they said it, it was just part of being a good person. That you say that word is bad or a hand signal means something that I didn't realize. And there are situations where I'm not sure why or how, but I just don't want to get canceled, so I just won't do it. But now I realize in that situation, I was just trained to be obedient, to listen, to be good. I was just kind of mindlessly conforming without doing the work of understanding how my actions could potentially harm someone else or how someone could perceive it that way. During this week, we've had people challenge this rule. Situations where people didn't stop because they believed what they were doing was right. Whether or not what they were actually doing did or was going to do any actual harm. In all these circumstances, the person saying stop was saying it because of some safety or boundary concern. But this begs the question, how can stop be fair? In an equal world where we're supposed to trust each other, someone saying stop and then you having to stop out of blind obedience and being controlled seems far from being okay. Why should you listen to this person say stop? We're supposed to be free. We're supposed to be able to do what we want. The magic answer, and I'm sorry if this is obvious, but in my opinion, it's trust. It's trust that if you tell me to stop, it's not because you want to control me, or it's not because you just don't like what I'm doing. It's a trust that you're looking out for someone's well-being, either yourself, mine, or someone else's. And in that moment, when I trust someone else to stop, I also have to trust that I might not know every single thing in that moment. I might not see how a certain action could harm someone else, or how a certain action could be unsafe. While I'm not beholden to just do whatever you want and consistently follow your will, I'm trust that if you're telling me to stop, that you have a good reason. And that once we're stopped, that we can have a conversation about whether or not that this is really stop-worthy behavior. This includes harmful words, includes language, includes physical boundaries, includes emotional boundaries, it includes social media. Stop means stop. It may seem so simple, but sometimes it's still so hard. Here's an example of something that's non-consensual that a lot of us have experienced, that in a lot of cases that nobody would think that this has to do with consent. Think about an older auntie or grandpa is kissing a child on the cheeks, violating the physical boundaries, and the child is calling out, stop, stop, stop. If you look at it from the adult's gaze, then the adult is just loving them. They're being affectionate. Of course, the kid doesn't want us to kiss them, but they're so cute, it's okay. But in the situation when the child says, stop, 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 you're hurting me, I don't like it, you're making me feel bad, and the child defends himself, the older relatives will guilt them saying, oh, you're ungrateful, or you just don't understand how much I want to show how much I care about you. And eventually the child will just submit because they're older, they have to be obedient, and they feel bad that they hurt the older adult's feelings by being ungrateful for their love. The crux of the issue is that the older relative doesn't trust the child's boundaries matter, or that they could be doing a harm that they don't realize. Because in their mind, they think they're not doing anything bad, they're not gonna stop and try to hear about how they could be potentially harming someone. And I think that is a big problem that affects not only those specific person-to-person situations, but a lot of other situations. And it is when we don't have trust in others and they say stop, it's often that we keep going. We continuously affect harm that we don't really truly understand. And often, maybe once that harm becomes apparent to us, it's already too late. It's this trust that when I say stop to someone, that they'll stop. It is the trust that when I say stop to someone, that they'll know that I mean it for good reason, I'm not trying to control them, and that we can have a conversation, that we can explain why. It is the trust that we have with each other, that when this trust is breached, when our consent is not followed, that we have each other's well-beings and good intentions in mind, and then we can learn and grow. It is that trust and respect that we have for each other and for ourselves that ties your happiness, your liberty, your safety to mine. That if we trust each other, that we will all be okay. All right, so that's my video of the lesson that I learned this week. I will talk to Christina about the punishment week, but I think at first we just need to get into a good rhythm. We're both going through a lot of change, and yeah. So I will see you on Monday, Christina. Bye.